Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Reese and today I'm going to talk to you about my end of the year, end of 2024 TBR list. All of the books that I want to read to close out this year. I also want to share with you some of my 2025 reading goals. I don't have that many and they are not very lofty, but I still want to share them with you on here as a record and to keep myself accountable. And also I'll be able to look back and see, did I actually do that? Did I totally abandon that? You know, all the things about goal setting that you're supposed to do. But anyways, thank you and stick around. Book number one of my 2024 end of the year TBR list is Parakeet by Marie-Helene Bertino. I read Beautyland this year by the same author, and it was one of my favorite books of 2024. I loved it so much. I picked this up. I actually remember seeing this in my local bookstore and thinking, oh, that's interesting. I liked the cover. I thought it was interesting looking. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but sometimes I do that. Also, it was one that they like faced out on the shelf, so it caught my eye. You know, I think there was probably a blurb about it too. I'm not going to read the back of the book on this one, but basically this is about a bride who is visited by her dead grandmother who is a parakeet, and that Parakeet tells her not to get married and to do something else, and it sounds like a wild ride. I enjoyed Beautyland for many reasons. I will be making a video about it because I just loved it that much. One of the reasons that I enjoyed it was the, let's call it, one weird thing premise. I'll trademark that, I don't know. One weird thing. And in Beautyland, the main character is an alien, but she is a human, but she's actually an alien. And then everything else basically is normal. And so I think in this book, which was written before Beautyland, the one weird thing might be that this character's dead grandmother is a parakeet. So I'm excited to see what she cooks up in this, and yeah, the blurb on the cover of this book says darkly comic and vulnerable and true, and I can only aspire to have a blurb say the same thing about my writing. That would be goals for sure. So I'm gonna read this one in the hopes that it inspires my own writing practice. The next book on my TBR, not necessarily the order that they will be read in, just know that, is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. I have never read anything by Le Guin before, and that seems strange because everything I've read about her and her work seems like it would be something I'd be into. I have a friend who read this book and really enjoyed it. I think it's time. Coming in at number 3 on my end of the year 2024 TBR is George Saunders' 10th of December. And no, I did not pick this based on the timeliness of the title. I just love George Saunders and I would like to read more of his work. I read Pastorula and it was so funny and so true and so honest. I am subscribed to his newsletter, and I think he's such a great writer and there's so much to learn from him, and this book of short stories will be almost like again, another one of those, what can I learn from this? So I'll be reading and hopefully taking mental notes about how he's writing. Less of a like popcorn read for sure, although I know I will be entertained, so I'm looking forward to this one. And yeah, short stories, I hope they'll fly by. I'm picking this up also because it's just something different. It's not a novel. Yeah. And speaking of George Saunders, on my TBR list, this is maybe like a cheat. I don't know what the rules are of TBR. Like, can you have a book that you're currently reading on your TBR? I'm gonna allow it because I can justify it in a way, and it's my TBR, so let's just go with that. Anyway, speaking of George Saunders, A swim in a pond in the rain. A swim in a pond in the rain. I don't know why that title is so hard for me to read. Yeah, I will be finishing this book. This is a book of Russian short stories, not written by Saunders, but his responses to each of these stories and how he breaks them down, critiques what's happening in the writing, the prose, the construction, all of the things. It's a beautiful book. I've learned so much from it. I am not one to tab books. I will underline and highlight things. I'm not precious about books like that, but I was never into tabbing until this. Look at this. I have like I guess a third of the book left, and you can see all of these things. Just gems. Every one of them is a gem, and I'm so glad I have this book. I will return to this time and time again. Yeah, I'm very excited to continue reading this and summarize my thoughts on it and all the wonderful nuggets of wisdom I learned from it and can hopefully put into use in my writing. And I've lost count of what number on my TBR, but that's fine. The next book that I'm hoping to read before the end of the year is Deep Work by Cal Newport. This has been on my TBR in some capacity for years and years, and I think it's time. Have I read another book by Cal Newport? I don't know, but so many people, authors, nonfiction authors, and just creative people in general that I admire have talked about this book and how it has impacted their life, and I'm hoping that I can pick up more of that actionable wisdom from this. I don't have a physical copy of this book. It is a digital library loan that I will be reading on my Kindle, and I think it'll be a quick read. And then we have Of Cattle and Men by Anna Paula Maia. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This book, I came across this book on TikTok. Don't judge me. I know, is there a rivalry between BookTube and BookTok? I don't know, somebody tell me. Anyways, I came across this book on TikTok in a list of post-apocalyptic-ish books, maybe, or I'm not gonna read the whole back of the book, but it does say, in a landscape worthy of Cormac McCarthy, the river runs septic with blood. Edgar Wilson makes the sign of the cross on the forehead of a cow, then stuns it with a mallet. It sounds creepy and weird. It's a short little book. It's women in translation. I believe she's a Brazilian author. I'm trying to read more women in translation because that's important in my life. And I saw this at another local bookshop near me, and I thought it's time to pick it up. Thank you, Book Talk. Well, I'll read it and I'll let you know if we can thank Book Talk for this one. I forget the creator's name who shared this book on TikTok, but I will look it up and I will link it in the description if anyone's curious. Next book on my list for the end of the year is The Wall by Marlen Haushofer. Again, is this cheating because I've already started this book? No, I'm here to close out those books on Goodreads and all the stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna finish this one. I told myself that I should read it on a train because I read most of this book on a train. I don't think I'll be taking a train trip anytime soon, but because I only have like 40 pages left, I think I'm gonna go somewhere and read this book, like a coffee shop or something. Hopefully it doesn't make me cry. Yeah, but I think I need to take myself out of my home to read this one because so much of it, actually all of it, was read outside of my house, and I feel like that's weirdly important to close this one out. So, and I've talked about what this book is a little bit on another video of mine. It's about a woman who is vacationing in the Austrian Alps, and she wakes up one day and she's totally isolated from the people she was with, the rest of the world. She's living in this beautiful landscape. She's living off the land with these animals, and Yeah, it's a beautiful story, very quiet and contemplative. I think it's gonna be a good ending. We'll see. Maybe that's why I'm so scared to finish this one, because I'm scared that the ending won't. I'm scared that the ending will let me down. I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep you posted on this one. Another book on my end of the year TBR is The Vegetarian by Han Kang. Again, I hope I'm saying that name right. I just looked it up. You know me. You don't know me, but sometimes I hear something and it goes in my brain out the other way, you know. Anyways, this book is a little older. I think it was written in 2007. It is also a woman in translation. The author is Korean. It was written in Korean. I believe it won the Booker Prize. She also won a Nobel Prize in Literature. I have never read anything by her before, but I've seen this book and other books of hers always on, you know, top lists, on bookshelves of like, oh, you should read this, recommendations, and so I'm excited to read this one. It's for a book club, and yeah. And the penultimate book on my end of the year reading list is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Okay. And yeah, this started off as a little bit of an experiment. I read the books as a kid. I know the stories really well, especially the first book I know super well. And I thought, okay, if I read this as an adult, I can really pick apart what she's doing. And so it started that way, and then I kind of got into a groove and I kept reading them, and I don't agree with a lot of her opinions on certain things, and we could have a whole video about how she's saying some damaging and she has some damaging beliefs, but I won't talk about that here. I will just say I need to finish this book out because I've read the rest of them this year, and yeah, I'd like to just finish them, get this off of my TBR, and then I can stop thinking about it. So, yep. And the last book on my end of the year 2024 TBR is Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood. I read this book in high school. I really enjoyed it. I think it was the first Margaret Atwood I read, actually, which is strange. I don't know. I think I picked it for like a book report. It's a book I don't hear a lot of people talk about. And so I was curious why I picked this in high school, but I remember it resonated a lot with me. So hopefully I have that same experience. We'll see how it changes. This one came to my mind because I finished the Neapolitan Quartet this year by Elena Ferrante, and the story of the friendship between Elena and Lila felt weirdly like the experience of reading this book. I don't know. There was something, I know this book deals with friendship. It deals with an artist, a painter who returns to Toronto, the city of her youth, for a retrospective, and she reminisces about girls who initiated her into the fierce politics of childhood and its secret world of friendship, longing, and betrayal. Yeah, I feel like must be some connections between this and the Neapolitan Quartet, or maybe My Brilliant Friend at least. So I'm curious to see what I think. I hope it'll be a quick read. I hope it'll be like I sit down on a rainy, cozy day and read this, and it'll bring up some stuff from my own childhood. We'll see. Hopefully not anything horrible, but I don't know. Maybe there's some stuff I need to work through. And those are the books on my TBR list for the end of this year. If you've read any of them, please let me know what you thought. I would love to hear what you have to say, your experience reading these. And I think I'm gonna do an end of the year wrap up of all the books I've read, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be like a rapid fire rating, you know? We'll see. Oh, hi, you're still here. Okay, thank you. Here's where I will share my 2025 reading goals. I have 4 of them. I will make this short. Number 1, I would like to read 52 books in 2025. I think this is doable. I think this feels right because there are 52 weeks, 52 books. Yeah, I did not read 52 books this year, but I think I can read 52 books next year. And let's see how I do with that one. Number 2, take notes on each book that I read in my reading log. I kind of did a version of this year, but I didn't stick with it, and I found myself, even for some of these videos, as I'm talking about books, I'm like, oh yeah, what did I want to say about this? Like, what were my thoughts about this? And so I think this will not only help me as a writer, but it'll also help me with this channel and talking about my books, because I love sharing my thoughts about books, and, you know, I need a better way to do that. So yes, I will be keeping notes. I do this in Notion. I don't love the system that I currently have, which is probably why I haven't kept up with it. I do love Notion. I just don't love the questions I'm asking myself about each book. But what I would like to capture is any relevant passages that stood out to me, things that feel relevant to my writing, whether that's like prose, character, plot, things like that. And also making connections between other books, other media like TV, movies. I kind of do that anyways, but sometimes I forget. I don't always log it, and so I would like to do that. I think it'll take a little bit of work, but I'm committing to it for 2025. And my battery died, but that's okay because we're back and we are on goal number 3, which is to log my books in Goodreads and Storygraph. I was kind of doing this throughout the year, but not really. I would like to include an actual review, a written review of each book, because that will get me in the practice of writing critically about my books instead of just blabbering about them. I did this with Letterboxd this year, but it was not formal, and what I wrote was definitely not super critical. Maybe I'll link my Letterboxd so you can see some of my reviews. So I'm committing to writing actual reviews for each book, which I know will take a little bit of time, but I think it'll get faster the more I do it. So yeah, look out for those and feel free to follow me on either of those. And my last reading goal for 2025 is to limit my book buying, browse my shelves first, utilize my library holds, and buy used before buying new. Or if I buy new, support an independent bookstore. And yeah, most of my books on my TBR are actually all of them except for one were already on my shelf or from the library, and I feel like that's an important goal for me. I don't know how I'm going to measure this other than, maybe marking in my reading log where the book came from. So I look forward to sharing how this goes with you at the end of next year. Let me know what your reading goals for 2025 are, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.